Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining me today. It's Allan Laboucan with the Rocks and Stocks News Show. Got one of our sponsors on. Want to thank our sponsors because they make this work I do possible. So it benefits my viewers, not just for the sponsors who this benefits, but also for the non-sponsors. And it really is a thank you for my audience that they get the content I do, and it's because of my sponsors. So Sokoman Minerals, Tim Froud. How you doing, Tim?
I'm doing fine, Alan. As I mentioned in our talk pre live there, I'm actually in the town of Bayvert, which is kind of the hub, I guess, the business and financial. Well, not financial. Well, it's the biggest town on the property. Put it that way.
The New York of the area.
Yes, yes, it is. Yeah, but yeah, no, it's beautiful here today. It's sunny. The sun is out. There's still no leaves in the trees. Grass is still very short, so we're taking advantage of what I think is the best time of the year, a month earlier than normal, I might add as well, to prospect those beautiful cutovers that the logging company has made available to us. And yeah, it's we're finding more rocks, and we're also going to talk a little bit about Moosehead and some recent developments on that. I think caught some people's eyes
Well,
late last week, and
that Fleur de Lis project has a little soft spot in my heart because the one company that it reminds me of is Dalradian. And Dalradian was a company that I picked at 25 cents and banged the drum on, and until they were taken over at, I don't know, $500 million or something like that. It was a fantastic pick. And so I'm always looking around for rocks that look like that. And although Ireland is a long way from Newfoundland, um, the rocks are the same rocks, because at one time it was all connected. And so I want to talk more about that project, but you had some news out about Moosehead. And what has always excited me about Moosehead, Tim, is that in your shallow drilling, you've found a lot of high grade gold widespread all over the place. So that tells me that you guys have a big orogenic, a powerful orogenic gold system. And I recently listened to your interview on Crux Investors, and something that got me really excited was that you talked about starting to get some deeper holes into the system. Now, these orogenic gold systems, for my audience, they're very deeply rooted, and they have a zonation of grade. As you go deeper into the system, you get closer to the heat engine. And for example, at the Red Lake mine, they were struggling with their mining and the near surface stuff for a number of years, a couple decades. Then they went down to about 1,000 meters and they hit the bonanza grade portion of the system, and the rest was history. It was phenomenally low cost, extreme high grade, money making machine. And that's what I love about orogenic gold systems. But this is also the challenge with orogenic gold systems, is that they're complex structures, complex rock folding, and but what we know at Moosehead is that you have an orogenic gold system that has very high grade. And even though you are in the visible gold portion of the system, it is still fine grained visible gold. And as they got down deeper in Red Lake, you got into the really coarse grained gold. And so it's really, I've always been a huge fan of Moosehead. Nothing has changed. In fact, your latest results, more of this very high grade gold. But I really like the chance to start unlocking that depth potential, because I think there's a potential to start finding more coarse gold and the grades to go off the charts.
yeah, well, thanks for that wonderful introduction. And yeah, you're absolutely right. These orogenic systems are are big, deep systems. We still don't obviously know how deep Moosehead goes, but clearly, it's part of a structure that runs, the entirety of the island of Newfoundland and beyond. So, yeah, this is not something that's going to be, 300 meters deep and stop. I mean, these systems don't do that, right?
Right.
But as you also mentioned correctly, Alan, these things can be complicated, and the Earth is not a static beast. So you can form the most wonderful gold deposit in the world, and then the next orogenic event comes along and chops it up on you, that sort of thing. And of course, Newfoundland has had, because of where it is and how it's situated on the planet, it has had a number of orogenic events, prior to, the Moosehead event and other events and other gold systems in Newfoundland and afterwards. So our job is basically to, get a toehold on it and then, slowly, patiently, cautiously unravel the mystery. And, that's what we've been up to. And, to help us focus on things that are deeper, I think it's important to understand what's beneath your feet, your immediate, the immediate 200 to 300 meters, 400 meters, which we've basically been down to. Not so many down to 400 meters, but certainly, down to 300 meters is, 90% of our holes. So we're getting a better handle on that. And we've recently re-engaged Dr. Collar from Ireland as well, who's been over. He in fact, we flew him over to basically physically look at the core that we've been drilling in the past year or so, including the new zone 552, which, by the way, he thinks is something altogether wonderful. Even though we haven't got the monster grades yet, he says, don't worry. He said, I see things here that I see in all the other zones. And, not every hole at Moosehead gets 500 gram meters, right? I mean, that's just the way it is. They're there, and, we have a number of them. In fact, we just reported two new ones related to our work with Nova Mera towards the bulk sample. And that's something else we'll talk about in a bit more. But, he's been tasked basically, Alan, with finding a map, a map basically to deeper gold. And
Now, to do that, you have a good understanding of the structures. But what about the folding of the rocks, Tim, that can also create traps? So you've got the main structure is your plumbing system, the vent that allows things going up. Then you've got secondary structures that create traps. But then you've got the folding in the rock that can also create traps.
yes.
You guys have to, with all the holes you've drilled, be starting to get a pretty good understanding of all that, the main faulting, the secondary faulting, and the folding of the rocks to help you target deeper, right?
Well, we are, and with every hole, that knowledge base increases. And you're right. I mean, we see gold in a variety of structural orientations, like the 463 zone, for instance. Was almost perfectly oblique to or normal to the main eastern trend. And we still haven't, and we haven't abandoned the eastern trend, by the way. I mean, as human nature is, you're always looking over the fence, sort of thing, right? And the eastern trend is still open. Probably a year and a
Well,
half
it's
or so ago,
all
after we
open at
drilled,
depth.
yeah, yeah, a year and a half or so ago, when we were really focusing on the eastern trend, I mean, we started to get some hits that were a bit lower grade, and then something else would come along, like the 552 or the 463, and little distractions. And unless you've got 10 drills working, which is not possible for us, you have to leave something to address something. So the eastern trend is not forgotten, right? It's still there, it's still open, and we will be back there. Whether it's part of this deep campaign, maybe we drill a hole right down the throat of the eastern trend to see how long we can stay in it, right? But again, then you have to deal with structural complications. What if it's offset, and then you're out of it? So it's not that simple, right?
Yeah,
this
that's
right?
the nature of these. That's the nature of these systems. But what I can
Yeah.
never get away from, and I'm like a dog on a bone, Tim. When you have an orogenic gold system and you have bonanza, high grade, bonanza grade, widely spread in multiple different locations. That tells me that deep down there, there's a powerful system, a long-lived powerful system that caused that high grade to bonanza grade to get close to surface. Now, nobody ever told me that exploration was going to be easy. And it's certainly not easy with orogenic gold systems. But that's the kind of thing that you want, and you want to stay on it like a dog on a bone, because that gold, that high grade to bonanza grade gold that you find in the first 200-300 meters, it came from somewhere deeper.
Yes, it did. Yeah,
And
no, no question about it, right? And that's why Dr. Collar has been engaged again, and why his scope has now gone beyond the boundaries, of what he's incorporating in terms of his universe, I guess, his database is even going as far to the southwest as Valentine Lake, and out to the coast, out to the salt water, to basically build a framework that the Moosehead and Newfound Gold's properties, the nest basically that hosts our little nest eggs that are in there, right? So this guy is amazing, I'll tell you, and he's been largely responsible for most of the gold zones that we've intersected over the previous hundreds of holes we've drilled, right? So I mean, I have complete confidence in him, and yeah, he's
well, I
he's
have a
back
lot of,
home now.
I
He's
have a
back
lot
home
of,
now in Ireland. God bless him, and he's cranking away. I know we've got two guys basically feeding him data, and regional data, property data, stuff that he hadn't had before. And yeah, he's going to put a plan together for us, and it'll take a little time, right? But sometime later this summer, we're going to get something back from him that's could be a game changer for Sokoman.
actionable. Well, I have a lot of confidence in the model. You got an
Yes.
orogenic gold system, you got complex geology, you got bonanza to high grade. Now you still got to figure it out, but folks, that's what you want in an orogenic gold system. It may not be easy, but look at Fosterville. Over a couple decades mining the near surface stuff, and they mined that because there was high grade, but they had to go down deeper, 700-800 meters, and boom, they hit the jewelry boxes. Same thing at Red Lake. They mined for decades. They got down to 1,000 meters, jewelry box. And in an exploration, you're kind of showing that you've got that same kind of history. Now if you get deeper, that's exciting. But you also put some news out about working. Now, I've told you before, Tim, I spent a lot of my career in diamond exploration. And if you think gold in an orogenic gold system is nuggety, diamonds make that look like child's play.
I bet.
And so it's all a statistical analysis, a function of statistical analysis when you're looking at a diamond deposit, because of this ultra nuggety effect of these small diamonds in big volumes of rock. So really, you're kind of at the mercy when you're drilling is luck and statistical analysis of your small, tiny diamonds and the frequency of those bigger diamonds showing up. And in this case, in an exploration case, that would be quarter carat, half carat, 1 carat. How frequent do they come up? But the big test is when you can get in there and you can bulk sample. Because now, instead of going in there and trying to analyze something with the hole this big, now you're going in there with something that is a hole this big. And you're grabbing a lot more rock. And the more rock you have for your statistical analysis, the more
Yep.
accurate your analysis is going to be. And
Yes.
so with this test bulk sampling idea that you're doing, it really excites me, because I understand the distribution of nuggets and in ultra nuggets, if you will, in diamonds. And you could be, 6 inches away from 2 ounces per ton of gold. but because you drilled this little hole, you might just be, you moved it over 6 inches and, you know, everybody gets excited. So if you
That's
could
right.
take a hole this big, now you've got a much more representative idea of the actual grade. And
Yes.
so I'm really excited to hear about this work that you're doing because of my past work.
Well, thank you again for that excellent introduction. And yeah, this company we signed the MOU with, Novamera Inc. You know, they have a strong relationship to Newfoundland. In fact, several of their principals are from here, and the technology basically evolved from a small gold deposit. Actually, I can almost see it. Actually, if I move probably 10 feet, I can actually see the some of the workings and the and part of the open pit at the just recently closed Anaconda mine that Signal Gold were mining, you know, for many years on the other side of the harbor from Bay Verte. Like I said, Bay Verte is a mining town. It's on the coast. There's no fishermen here. You know, if there's fishermen here, they're fly fishermen, right? These people are miners and loggers and, you know, the woods people basically. So, you know, this town is built, you know, 150 years ago. People came here first because of the mines that, you know, they found the copper mineralization here. But anyway, I'm getting way off topic. But you know, the relationship we just forged with Novamera, you know, they take projects basically that have been given up and stuff like that. It was designed mainly for very small, you know, basically deposits that were too small to go on their own, but to surgically mine them and allow the people that own these properties the opportunity to cost effectively get something out of the ground, as opposed to having it sit there because, well, you can't make a mine on that because it's too small, right? So focused on high grade veins mostly, and you know, they go right through, and it has been tested to go down as deep as 300 meters with this technology. Now, for now, we're just you know, walking the walk with them, you know, to get to the bulk sample stage. We're not talking about mining. You know, that's a whole separate kettle of fish. But as you pointed out, for many reasons, a bulk sample is critically important to a project's, you know, development, future, and success. So, you know, it's our mission basically to use this technology to prove whether this technology can work for us, for one thing, because it is new, it is relatively new, and we are dealing with rocks, Alan, and rocks don't have, you know, rocks don't often cooperate, right? So let's just leave it at that. So, you know, basically we've committed to doing, you know, a couple of steps with them. The first one was obviously the drilling of a few pilot holes for them, holes 166A and B. The results, which we assayed, of course, because we saw the gold and we were expecting to get something in it. But, you know, we got some pretty nice holes there, I must say. Probably one of our best holes ever in the
The
footwall
more than
splay.
nice, that was pretty high grade stuff.
I got some calls, put it that
Yeah.
way. Some people called me,
Good.
important people. Anyway, so yeah, so our engagement with Novamera is basically to prove whether or not their technology can help Sokoman Minerals Corp, you know, effectively, cost effectively, efficiently, and importantly as well, environmentally, you know, friendly way to extract a bulk sample without having to go through the process of digging a hole and blasting and, you know, all this kind of stuff. I mean, it's brilliant. If you know, just, and I encourage people to go to their website, novamerainc.com, and look at it. Brilliant. And like you said, you know, you get a big diameter hole that, yeah, this is the size core I'd like to drill all the time, right?
Exactly.
But it doesn't come
Well,
out as core. And
especially
this
in
is the other thing, right? It doesn't come out as
if it's
core.
disseminated material, it's different, but you're looking for concentrated gold. And statistically, you need more rock. The more rock you can get, the better.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, and the other thing too is that this doesn't recover core because, of course, you know, you can't handle a core, you know, a core that's a meter wide. It's just too heavy, right? I mean, it's practically impossible, right? You know, you'd need, I don't know what you'd need, some sort of
Arnold
an aircraft
Schwarzenegger.
carrier or something to haul it out of the ground for you. But no, it actually crushes the rock. So basically, you produce a slurry. So you don't have any tailings, right? You don't need to dig a hole. You just drill a hole. And basically, the slurry comes up into a tank and they ship it off to wherever you're getting to go processed. And they fill that hole back in with cement or whatever medium, is environmentally acceptable. And then they move down to the next level. I mean, we're talking diameter holes that could be up to 2 meters wide, right? So, so our mission is to basically cost effectively,
So is it
hopefully,
broken up like a RC rig, sort of?
yes, yeah. So it's already crushed. So think about that. Think of all the costs that you've just dropped off the bottom line of your profit.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
there's no mining, right? It's just drilling costs, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
trucking, right? Because I mean, why build a mill when someone's got one up the road, that can take it for you and process your ore at a cost? Yes, but at probably a fraction of the cost of building your own facilities, right? So anyway, we're talking about mining, but for now, I want to get a couple thousand tons because right now with the regulations in Newfoundland is you can actually take a bulk sample without going through all of the environmental requirements that we require for a mining permit. And that means a sample up to 1,000 cubic meters, which is roughly 25 to 2,800 tons, depending on the density, how many vugs are in the quartz and stuff like that, just using the specific gravity of quartz. So we can take a sample, fairly, I wouldn't say easily, but I mean, there's still things we have to do. Up to that size, and that's a
well,
fairly
it's a hell of a
representative
lot
chunk, right?
easier than digging a big hole.
And that's a fairly representative chunk, 2,700 tons, right?
Totally.
If we took it in the area where 166A was drilled, 2,700 tons. I'm not saying that the average grade is going to be 84 grams, but that's a few ounces of gold, right? So it's which would be nice to have, right?
Yeah.
And but anyway, like I said,
Well,
there's still
that's a
permits.
pretty big bulk sample. In diamonds, we usually start with 100 to 500 tons if you've got the right indications to go ahead with it. So
Yeah, well, if we
2,700
get the okay, right, and if it works out that we can do this successfully with technically with Nova Mira, I mean, I'm going to take the maximum that I'm allowed to. I'm not going to leave anything on the table or any gold in the ground that I could get out at this opportunity. So besides, the more volume you have, the more information you get out of it. That how that works. So
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's the situation with Nova Mira, and like I said, we've just signed that agreement. So. The news flow will be coming,
So
but
to wrap it all up at Moosehead, there's more drilling, deeper drilling, and a bulk sample.
yes,
Perfect. Let's get
yes,
on to where you are right now, Tim, because like I said earlier, I got a soft spot in my heart for Ireland and Dalradian, and whenever I hear someone has gone over to Dalradian's property and looked at the rocks and have found rocks that look the same over on their property in Canada and Newfoundland, gets me pretty excited. Tell us a little bit about what Florida Lee is going to be.
well, I'm going to make you even more happy now because if you don't mind, I'm going to
You're going to
share.
show me some gold.
I'm going to show you just a few things for my presentation here now. So I've got to remember how to do this again because I always muck it up.
The little green
Share,
thing that says share
share
screen.
screen. There we
Yep.
go. Share. Okay, can you see that?
Yep.
Well, that's our new best buddy there. That's Mr. Minister, I should say, the
Uh-huh.
Honorable Andrew Parsons, who's the mines minister here in our wonderful province, and
Now was at
he
the
loves.
PDAC.
Yeah, that is actually, and he's a very big supporter of what we're doing. In fact, two of our projects, our lithium project and our Grey River project, which we haven't talked about a lot lately, but is still near and dear to my heart. Two of our projects actually sit in his jurisdiction.
Good.
So you know how politicians like rah 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 produce jobs. So he says Tim, if you need anything, just call me. Right. So where else in the world does the Minister of Mines give you his phone number? Right. I mean,
Very
only in
often.
Newfoundland. God, I love it here. But
There
anyway,
you go.
so yeah, I know we're under a little bit of a time constraint here. So let's
Yep.
just move on down to there's a team. Okay, we don't want to see those people.
Those are the ones doing
Where
all the
are we?
hard work.
Yeah. Okay. So just to stand back a little bit, big picture, as you started out and said, you talked about Ireland and how we were once connected. Well, this is a very cartoonish looking map showing where our fleur-de-lis project sits in relation to where Current, which is the big gold deposit that you talked about, the Alradian resources. There's over 6 million ounces of gold there, and you know, it's
One thing that pops out from that cartoon there is, you notice where those stars are right at the contact of two rock packages.
yep, I know. Yes, and it's the same contact over there. Over there, the structure that over here, the structure that fleur-de-lis sits on is called the Bayvert line, whereas over in Ireland it would be the Omagh thrust. But they're the same. I mean, everything about them is the same. They have the same orientation. The gold sits on the same side of the fault.
Wow.
It's just too numerous to mention. And as I talked about it, we were over there almost a year ago today. We flew over and visited with the British and Irish geological surveys and had a wonderful tour of the region. You know, it was one thing just to stand and look at ore. That really doesn't help me too much because you know it when you got it.
Yep.
But what do the rocks look like 500 meters away? What
Yep.
do the rocks look like a kilometer away? Are we headed the right way? And all these questions are what I had for you know, for myself and our team. We need to figure this out to see if fleur-de-lis is the real deal, if it can be another Current. And we came back with every box checked in our checklist. And so yeah, fast forwarding. So late last fall we announced the discovery of Golden Bull, which is a new discovery in an area that was very close to where Noranda had done a bit of work in the past. So, you know, to their credit, I mean, Noranda weren't really a gold company. You know,
Yeah.
they were more of a base metal sort of thing, but you know, they kind of dabbled in gold.
They only drilled one hole. This rock looks a lot more interesting than Miranda's one hole. That I can see the quartz and some stringers of sulfides in there, right?
Yeah, that's their stylites, and yeah, they do have very fine sulfides disseminated along them. And we found now, if we go to one more slide, this is what happens when logging companies are allowed to run rampant in the woods.
Yeah.
They turn over and find rocks, and that is a rock, by the way. I don't know how well you can see that, but
Yeah.
let me just see if I can make this any bigger.
It's a boulder that's angular, that's come from
Right?
a very close proximity.
Absolutely, and we found now about 30 of these, a few more recently than the original discovery. But we're
Wow.
still working. We're still
Yeah,
working in the area.
you can actually see the quartz in there.
Oh yeah, well this is all quartz.
Yeah.
This I estimate this boulder to weigh about 4 tons.
Wow.
And you know, boulders that size, and when they're brittle like quartz like this and angular, they haven't traveled very far,
You
Alan.
know,
So
for my audience, if you point you can actually, this is really helpful for exploration, for people trying to understand exploration. And if you look at where they're right there, you can see the quartz. And then right beside it, you can see alteration. And so when you're looking for a deposit, this is what you're looking for. You're looking for what hosts the mineralization, but also the alteration around it can teach you about where you are in relation to the potential mineralization. So
yeah.
it may not excite people, but when I see alteration in any project, I know that you're onto something.
Oh, definitely. And again, so we're just going to go through the sequence here. Now, this is this is March. So this is what that hillside looked like. And
Yeah.
for reference, I put a star where the Golden Bull initial boulders were found was right here. So that's March. Here is April.
Oh,
So the Golden Bull is still here. So this is basically looking at the same, you know, we're looking at the same area, right? So there's that ridge right up there.
wow.
It's the same ridge.
The
So
logging company came and cleaned it out for you.
and they're only meters away like a handful of meters away from, where the main cluster, and this is blue outline here. So
Yeah,
basically so what you're seeing here now is everything that's been done on this property historically and what we've done. So what you see here is a collection of Miranda's work, and they
okay,
drilled that one
so
hole
the
way
blue,
up here.
folks, is where they've taken rock samples and found mineralization. The orange is where they've taken soil samples and found mineralization. So you've got a large area there that is giving you indications that you're onto something.
Yes,
Uh,
exactly.
and then you've also got red that gives you some of the geologic or geophysical indications, which overlays on top of your sampling and tells
Yes.
you that you're sitting on something
Yes.
that's a big
Now, I
system.
did mention, of course, that Noranda was active here in the 80s, and here's their one drill hole that they put in. It was barely 100 meters in length,
Holy,
and they did hit a couple of weak little zones in it, but nothing, outstanding.
yeah.
But a technical success, if you want to call it that. So, but what I want to draw your attention to, Alan, are these golden squares here, these triangles.
Yeah.
See the triangle? That's the actual sample site. This is a row of till samples that we took along this ridge line here. And as you can
Oh, with
see,
gold grains.
with gold grains in them, and
And those are the
that's
counts of the gold grains?
that's the gold grains in it. And ice direction moved basically from where this drill hole is down this way. So it looks like the source for the gold lies somewhere between where we're finding the boulders, clearly, and where Noranda drilled their hole, because we don't see any evidence of this type of mineralization. Basically, it's a golden bull, those nice banded boulders you saw up here. So clearly there's a cutoff. And yeah, I like these numbers. I mean,
Oh,
um, so,
in
all these
time,
little bits of
getting back
evidence.
to my diamond exploration days, if you got that many counts of indicator minerals, you'd be doing cartwheels.
Yes, I know.
That's not just one grain.
Yeah, and that's in a relatively small bag of sample. It's about 10 kilograms of sample, right? So,
But if you go
again,
from side to side on 500 meters across, you've got an average of probably 30 grains in your 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 samples across a 3 to 500 meter distribution.
exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So,
Wow.
now, it looks fairly simple from here, but what we don't know, of course, is the orientation of these higher grade veins in the ground.
Yes.
Um, so you can easily drill a hole in the same direction that the veins are trending in and never know that the vein is 2 meters away from your drill hole.
Yeah.
So it will take a little bit of fishing, which is why I think the program that we will be kicking off in, say, mid-July, um, it's I think about 2,000 meters I've got budgeted, and hopefully more holes if I can squeeze a better contract out of the drilling company. Well, should be relatively short holes because we know there's boulders, right? So boulders, come from, scraped off the bedrock. So, either we're going to hit it or not, fairly early. So I'm going to probably drill, holes, at the start, 100 meters or less, because, you don't want to be drilling 2,000 meters and 3 or 4 holes in an area where you're not quite certain where the orientation of your target is. So,
Well, and you'll
we'd like
get information along the way. So the first hole might tell you about the second, third, fourth, and so on.
exactly. So anyway, so that's where we are now, and this area is like I said, I'll go back to this photo because this photo was taken more recently than that one. Yeah, it's
Can you zoom in a little bit there, Tim?
yep. Oop, sorry.
A little bit more? Okay, so there you can see the quartz and the alteration, folks, in that boulder. Um, and now you got to find some of that in the ground.
Yeah. So I believe that piece that you saw in the
It's
earlier
basically
photograph,
that same stuff.
yeah, it came from this exact piece here. So yeah, so that's where we are right now, and yeah.
Literally, you're there right now.
right now. Like my guys are out there. I'd be out there with them if I wasn't talking to you, but I do like talking to you, obviously. We got to get the message out too, right? So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
get out when I can. And we're actually here because Bay Verde actually holds, it has for the last 35 years hosted more of a regional mining sort of conference, basically because this area is mining and the adjacent, area for, 50 or 60 kilometers around. It's kind of like it's a Newfoundland's mining camp sort of thing, right? They have a mining conference. So
Ah,
there's probably 15 or 20 companies here, and we'll all have a little social and get together. There's some presentations, some technical talks, including one by Nova Mira, which will be
ah.
obviously I'll be up in the front row there for
Do you
sure on
know
that.
if they'll have a video of that? I'd like to check that out if they do.
Well, it'll probably be very similar to what they've got on their website.
Okay,
So,
I'll go to
uh,
the
but
website.
but I will ask Allan. I will see Allan. He's one of the principals who's actually giving the talk tomorrow. If I can get it, and would he mind if we posted it on our website or pass it off to you for your website, whatever? And I'm sure they wouldn't mind. I mean, it's advertising, right?
Yeah, perfect. So,
And
it sounds like you'll have some results from this initial prep work you're doing at the Florida Lease. And then you also will be drilling again soon at Moosehead.
yep.
So should have a lot of news coming out over the next little while.
Yeah, we will, Allan. In fact, that was one thing I was going to end with was we it's unfortunate where the stock ended up, and I wish there was something we could have done about it. I mean, I don't even know if drilling could have saved from what's going on, because I mean, so many companies like us with good assets and good people are trading at dismal prices, and yeah, the market has been kind to some people, but not all. I do believe, however, and I've said this probably before, but I will certainly say it again because I mean it, that the best I think is to come for Sokoman. And we can't forget Killick. We're very close. The exchange has been kind of grinding our watts a little bit to get this thing done, but we're probably weeks away. That's all from finalizing Vinland actually going public. And yeah, we're gonna be very happy that day. And the program has started at Killick with Piedmont. We were actually flying an airborne survey right now. And as well, something that hasn't been announced, but I'll let the cat out of the bag a little bit, is that two universities and the government of Newfoundland have basically joined forces and have been successful in garnering almost $1.5 million in research funding to be directed at our Killick project. And I think there will be at least 6 PhD studies going on, because so many times, Allan, and it's the way the market is. The market don't care about research. All the market cares about are assays, right, and meterage. And so often the important things like, why is this lithium here? Why is this copper here? Why is this gold here? Never gets answered, and you never learn anything. So we're going to be inundated with nerds from universities um, carrying out it's a 3-year program, and there will be some news coming out about it. I may get into crap for announcing this, but anyway, it's not a dilutionary thing. This is non-dilutionary funds.
Wow.
So yeah, we will be having a
Well,
few
getting
students and
back to the
things.
market, Tim, we've had a really nice move in the price of gold.
Yeah,
But for the large part, the gold stocks haven't really participated. But I think there's a catalyst coming that will be very good for the gold miners to start with,
yeah,
because the first quarter, they averaged about, let's say, $2,000 an ounce of what they were selling. And
yeah,
some of the best, like Agnico Eagle and Alamos, had great quarters at
yeah,
2,000. Now the second quarter is looking like they're going to get in at about $2,300 an ounce. This
yeah,
is going to create blowout quarters. And what's going to happen is there's going to be, I think, a flood of money start to come into those companies, and it will start to work its way down, because I think a lot of people are going to start paying attention to gold stocks because we finally have a catalyst. I thought the gold price moving up to 23 to 2,500 would be the catalyst, but it happened so quickly that now we need to see that hit the bottom line of the majors. And I
Yes.
think this will be the catalyst that gets more enthusiasm. And at the end of the day, Tim, the gold mining business needs more exploration and new mine development. There's not enough of it happening. And so, I think that exploration is the most crucial thing we need in the gold mining space for the near term and long term health of mining gold. And so I guess I'm just trying to pump you up there, Tim, and give you encouragement. You've got two great projects for gold, and keep at her, because I think we're going to get a better situation in the not too distant future.
Well, I thank you for the kind words, Alan, and obviously the support. I know you've got a very devout and loyal fan base, and yeah, I know some of them are shareholders, and I share their obviously frustration with the share price. But yeah, I mean, I do believe that the best is still to come for Sokoman, and obviously we've got several irons in the fire, and yeah, lots of news coming forward in the next 3 to 2 to less than that, in the next months, really.
Well, there's
Um,
one thing you can be sure of about stocks, they're going to fluctuate. But
yes,
what I try to focus on is the fundamentals.
yes,
You've found an orogenic gold system. You've found high grade to bonanza grade in multiple locations, in multiple holes in that orogenic gold system. This is an exciting project, no matter what the stock is doing. Now it's understanding the depth potential, and I think that's the next step that we can see start to happen in 2024. So keep at her, Tim. You've got a great project there, and I got my eye on Fleur de Lis, because I think you're going to get something good out of that as well.
all right, Alan. Well, thank you again for the time and the opportunity, and stay well, my friend. And yeah, let's until the next time we
We'll
chat.
be, we'll
Take
probably
care of
be
yourself.
talking in a couple weeks, Tim.
Okay, Alan, we will be.
I'll close it up now. So there you go, folks. Again, I don't need to reiterate why I'm enthusiastic about Moosehead and Fleur de Lis. We had a great conversation about it. Like I said, stocks fluctuate, but projects like this don't come around that often. I'm always looking for them, and I know how hard it is. They've got one. They've got it with the Truth Machine. They found high grade to bonanza grades at Moosehead. And now the exciting part for me is to get looking deeper and try to understand this system as it goes deeper. And this bulk sampling has me really excited as well. And those gold grains that they're finding up at Fleur de Lis have me excited. So stay tuned, do your homework, speak with your financial advisors. Be aware the company is a sponsor, so I'm biased. But it doesn't matter whether a company is a sponsor or not a sponsor. I look at the fundamentals based on my 30 years of exploration experience, and that's what I form all my opinions on. So do that homework, and we'll talk to you soon.